Google and OpenAI are scared. Someone at Google did an oopsie. They leaked some internal documents detailing that they are spooked about open source AI. That's right, you heard me. Whilst these two giants, Google with Bard and OpenAI with their GPT ting, which, by the way, Microsoft owns a huge share in, the Chad open source devs have been quietly in the background, seemingly invisible. And as the leaked document plainly said, those Chad open source developers are lapping us. Oh dear. Google have listed major open problems that they are struggling to solve that are being solved by the open source labs. Here they are. LLM on a phone. LLM is large language models. For those who don't know, why would you not know? LLM's running on phones, all right? Your own AI on a phone. Not on... Previously, you have to use giant server farms to train AI. Now you don't. Scalable, personal AI. You can run your own Jarvis. That's right, even you can be Tony Stark. There's obviously not going to be any restrictions on AI. If you want to try censor it, just fork it, bro. Who cares? Government might want to, but they can't. It's open source.
The beauty.
And this last one, I'm not even going to pretend to understand. Ugh. Ugh. No. Ugh. One of the main things that big tech companies are freaking out about is just how much money they're wasting compared to how much the open source chads are spending. They are doing things with $100 that we struggle to do with 10 million. How did this all happen? Well, this time it was Facebook that did an oopsie. That's right, gentlemen, it's full of oopsies today. Whilst Zuck was rolling around on the mats, destroying nerds in jiu-jitsu, doing this CrossFit challenge, doing his 100 pull-ups, fair play, someone picked up his rucksack and they found a USB stick that had a model in there called LLAMA. I'm going to call it Llama. It means Large Language Model Meta AI. That's very cute, isn't it? That's very cute. It was stolen. It was leaked, of course, on 4chan. To give you some perspective, this would be like the thing powering ChatGPT getting leaked, but without all the fancy tools and training on top of it. The foundation is there, but work still needed to be done. Now a brief aside on how some of these work. So, an LLM, a large language model, is basically a brain, neural network, that is given billions of parameters. A parameter, or a token, is just words or sentences, basically. That's exactly what they are. They're words or sentences. Given enough words, and learning about these words, they can predict the next word, and they generate text from that. These tokens mainly come from academic papers, websites, so things like Wikipedia, GitHub, Stack Overflow, Stack Exchange, and worst of all, Reddit, which in response is closing their public API. Sad? Oh well. Looks like we can't use Reddit anymore, guys. Back to Dig. Who cares? Anyway, that's besides the point. So since Meta's model, Llama, I'm calling it Llama, has been leaked, major developments have happened. The main one being that they have solved the scaling problem. This means that you can now run an AI from your laptop, as opposed to a massive server farm, therefore saving the environment. That's right, open source chads are saving the environment, as well as your wallet and your data privacy. But you know what's worse than all that? What could be worse than all that?
They should have seen it coming.
Remember Stable Diffusion? Exactly. That's open source image generation, and it is fantastic. Now this is going to happen for LLMs. Everyone is going to have their own chat GPT. Just look at the Google Trends for Stable Diffusion. It's growing, and is growing steadily. And DALL-E, that's not growing. That is OpenAI's image generation. It's stagnating. Training an AI was very, very expensive. It was impossible for the average person to train a model. I'm talking millions of pounds to train your own model. Make your own AI, basically. Now using some fancy tech that I'm not going to explain, because you won't understand it, and neither do I. In only a few hours, you can train an AI for yourself. So now people are already fine-tuning AIs for themselves that can compete with ChatGPT. This technology is called LoRA, L-O-R-A. Also, it's been recently discovered that data quality is probably a better way to train AI than having a massive amount of data for data's sake. So what data you're teaching your AI with matters more than just the amount of data you have, which means it is easier for a pleb like myself or yourself to train an AI, right? You don't need as much data. Big tech is not going to compete with open source. They can't. They can't compete with these new uprising AIs. Remember Linux? That little operating system? Yeah, it's everywhere now. It's going to happen to AI. Quote this from the leaked document. We need them more than they need us. We don't want you. Brain drain from big tech is real. Go away, Microsoft. Please. You scare me. So Google's plan is to own this ecosystem. Think Android. That runs on top of Linux. Think Chrome and Chromium. Chromium is actually an open source browser, but Chrome is on top of it. And Google owns this platform where innovation happens. It is trying to cement itself as a thought leader and direction setter. Ugh. Sorry, that almost made me vomit. This is also impossible to regulate, and that's a good thing. Imagine all these open source chads in Congress like Sam Altman and Sundar. That ain't gonna happen, is it? Imagine that. Imagine a whole bunch of gigachads rocking up. They can't because they don't know who they are. And there's thousands of them.
Impossible to regulate.
And if it does get regulated because one repository gets popular, just press the fork button. It's right there. Look at it. Just press it. You've pressed it? Good. Right. There you go.
Now you go to Congress.
Let us take a step back and review the timeline. February 24th, 2023. Meta announces Llama, LLAMA. March the 3rd, 2023. It's not very long. It gets leaked. Mark Zuckerberg playing jiu-jitsu left a USB pen in his briefcase. March the 12th, 2023. AI on the Raspberry Pi. It's super slow, but now an AI is trained on a Raspberry Pi. Screw your $10 million training costs. It's on a Pi now. March 13th, 2023. The next day. It runs well on the laptop thanks to Stanford's Alpaca and Alpaca LoRa. This basically means that anyone can fine-tune a model to do anything. You can give it your own data, right? You can train a model on your files. You can have ChatGPT personalized to you. March 18th, 2023. It's fast now, and it doesn't even need a GPU to run. You can just run it on your laptop. I could run it on my ThinkPad, okay? March 19th, 2023, the next day, Vicuna is released. This is basically open source ChatGPT trained on ChatGPT itself using ShareGPT, which is a place where people were uploading their interesting ChatGPT conversations. These open source chads went to it and were like, we're going to take this data and use it to train our AI, to basically clone ChatGPT, and it works. It's basically, you can't tell a difference for most things. The training cost was only $300. I could afford that if I saved for 6 months. Okay, that is within the realms of possibility easily for the average pleb to afford if they really wanted their own thing. But it gets better. March 25th, 2023, GPT for All is released, which is a collection of open source chatbots. Basically, you can pick and choose which model you want, and the chatbot will respond slightly differently. That only cost $100 to train. You see where this is going, don't you? It's getting cheaper, and it's going to get cheaper, and cheaper, and cheaper. There's more to this timeline, but that's the gist of it. So what does this all mean? Is it Linux 2.0? Maybe. Basically, whenever anyone wants to do AI right now, you go to ChatGPT and ask it some questions, right? Or whatever one you actually use. But you go to a website and use it, okay? The future, the AI will run on your own computer, trained on your own data. It won't even talk to the internet. It will all be perfectly tuned to you. Everyone's going to have their own personal AI in the future. And it's going to be open source. In future videos, I'm going to show you how you can train your own AI. So subscribe for those. But in the meanwhile, thank goodness for the open source as a thing.